to the Downright Upright Show, the place to go to hear out loud and proud what Minnesotans are thinking. And I am your host, Philip Anthony. Thank you all for joining us today. And I hope everyone is doing fantabulous. And I don't know if you've listened to the show yet, Erin, but fantabulous means fantastic and fabulous put together twice as nice. And that saves time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Are you feeling fantabulous?
I'm feeling fantabulous.
By the way, you cannot appreciate Erin's garb today. She looks absolutely amazing. I mean, when she walked in, I was like, oh, I'm not worthy. She looks amazing.
Oh, thank you, Philip. I appreciate it.
Oh, God. Anyway, my special guest today is singer-performer Erin Livingston, who will be performing her show entitled, I'm going to get it right, I Am Woman, the music of Helen Reddy.
That's right.
At Crooner's Supper Club on Sunday, February the 4th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m.
Mhm.
And if you come an hour earlier, you can order food.
Absolutely.
Is what I heard.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
The
yes.
roasted beet salad is fabulous.
I heard that. And I heard the prime rib, too, I heard.
Yep.
So, yeah, you got to go.
You
We're
have
going to
to
talk
go.
about this at the end. And if you like, especially if you like Helen Reddy, and if you don't know who she is, you're missing out on everything. You have to listen to her music as well. And at the end of the show, we will provide you with all the information on how to get tickets to this amazing Helen Reddy tribute show. So, hello, Erin. Welcome to the Downright Upright.
Hi, honey. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having
me. Oh my God, it's been on my bucket list. I full disclosure, Helen Reddy is probably one of my favorite singers of all time because I grew up in the 70s.
Right.
And she was the GOAT. I mean,
Absolutely.
She was on everything. She had so many number one records. I think she had 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was insane. Her own TV show, hosting Midnight Special.
She won the Grammy for I Am Woman.
It was insane.
She won the American Music Awards. She even got a nomination, a Golden Globe nomination for her role in Airport 1974, was it?
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, she did theater.
75.
She did, she's the whole ball of wax.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about your career, her career, your performances. Oh, this is my bailiwick, guys. Okay. So before we talk about your amazing career, I always ask my guests how everything began for you. So, Erin, would you tell the audience where you were born, raised, went to school, and any memories of that time that you could connect to what's happening now in your life?
Yeah. I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Moved around a lot as my mother quickly became a single mother at a time when there really weren't single mothers, doing a lot of that. So we moved a lot. I went to, I think, 7 different schools and lived in 2 different states and 5 different homes before the 3rd grade. So by the time we settled down in 3rd grade, I was a little shook, a little shaken. It was kind of, so just at the right time, I went to this amazing school that was a really great, I had great a music program. Thank you, Mrs. Dietrich. Thank you to a music teacher. Always, love your music teachers because they save the world. She saved mine. She absolutely saved mine. And it was kind of I feel like 3rd grade is when I really started to exist because I was one of the first white kids to be bused into a black school. Milwaukee at the time was incredibly segregated, very behind the times, very much like a fishbowl. And there was the black side of town and the white side of town, and there the twain shall meet. And so I got bused to the other side of town, which was amazing. It was an amazing cultural experience. I learned so much that I never would have, had I remained homogenized, the right schools and everything. But I also had this great musical exposure, partly because of the community I was in. We had a drill team. We had a gospel choir. I went to my little girlfriend's churches where, the windows rattled and, there was this amazing, Southern gospel music. And it blew my mind.
I'm sure,
at the same time that I was at the home listening to country music. I was planning on being Barbara Mandrell when I grew up. I was going to, do all of that. But I was,
that's cute.
But I started taking classical flute in 3rd grade, and I started singing at the same time. It all just happened at the same time. And as I say, by the time I landed in 3rd grade, I was pretty battered, pretty bruised, pretty, knocked around, always a new kid in school, never any friends. I was one of the first latchkey kids, 'cause
I was too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I don't know how how your parents handled it, but my mom was rightfully so very nervous and anxious about this. If anybody knows you're home alone, they call social services and take you away. So, I was raised with just fear. Come home, lock the door, don't answer the phone, close the curtains, don't let anybody know you're here, and she was working in a man's world, which was tough. So she had to work 3 times as long, and she'd get home 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then I'm, first grade,
Yeah.
second grade, just on your own,
Uh-huh.
because she's got to make a living,
Uh-huh.
and all that stuff. So when the music came along and all that in third grade, it was amazing. I remember the teacher went down the row. She was doing tryouts for choir, or maybe for solos in the choir, and she'd have us all sing a little ditty, And my girlfriend, her father was a Baptist minister. So she opened her mouth, this little itty bitty little thing, and this big, huge voice came out. And I went, I want to do that. I want to do it. So I immediately kind of, the big country diva singers, I'd somehow gotten hold of a Cleo Lane tape, listened to Cleo Lane, who just blew my mind.
Uh-huh.
Sarah
Yeah.
Vaughan like popped in my world somewhere, and he went, oh,
My
what is
husband
that?
will love you because he loves Sarah
Yeah,
Vaughan.
all of those things kind of came together starting in third grade, and it all just, I sang and performed. I was in choir, I played flute, and it was amazing for so many reasons. But one of them was I'd always been kind of isolated, moving a lot, latchkey kid. When I played the flute, when I sang, people smiled at me. They were nice to me. They liked me. And it was kind of a nice end for a kiddo who probably some of my social skills had again atrophied, I'm sure, a little unsure, insecure, really, kind of terrified of life in general. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a safe way to be musical and open and sharing that creativity with other kids and your teacher and everything. And it was just an amazing healing balm for me
Oh,
all of my
absolutely.
life, and continues to be to this day.
Yeah. I was very young when I heard, so I don't remember this, but my dad died when I was about to turn 5. Tragically, he
I'm sorry.
was killed. Thank you. And he saw the musician in me,
Oh, that's
my
wonderful.
father, and he used to take me to all the relatives' house with this little record player with the 45 of the Name Game.
Oh, that's
And
great.
this is the story because I don't remember any of it.
Okay.
And he'd put on the record, come on, sing and dance for everybody, Philly.
Oh,
And
Billy.
Philly. And I would sing the
That's
Name Game with
adorable.
this little boy,
Oh,
Shirley, Burley, Bonanica,
yeah.
and everybody laughed and clapped. It was,
Oh, that's
so
really
I
sweet.
got my
That's huge.
liking and love of music from that.
Yeah.
Because I knew even after that, I loved singing. I tried to do it. It didn't work out, but I still love doing it. So karaoke is my thing now.
Yeah. Well, and we know now too that it's self-therapeutic. I mean, it, stimulates the vagus nerve, which is really healing. It's great for, the breath work, automatically get your breath work in. I mean, I'm all over it, of course. I think everybody
I
should
love
sing.
that. Is it called the vagus nerve?
The vagus nerve. We'll talk.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Yeah, it's a
boy.
nerve that runs all through the body. It's a mere vagus nerve work. Everybody needs to do it.
The name is incredible.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. We'll talk about it. It's really important. But singing does that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So when did you in your lifetime, when did you realize that you had an amazing singing voice? And do you remember your first public appearance? Do you remember the first time you got up in front of people? I'm sure you were nervous wreck.
It was horrible.
I was too, yeah.
Yeah.
And this voice came out and people were like,
Vaguely, yeah. It was around that third grade time. Like I said, I was always singing at home and singing, Helen Reddy, of course, and the country divas and all this other stuff.
right.
And kind of inspired by my, girlfriend with her kind of gospel thing. And so I kind of, started playing around, getting a bit more open and bold at home. And I got my first solo in third grade, and we had our matching T-shirts with their names on them and did our little song. And that's, and I got a solo, and I was excited and nervous, and didn't really know how it was going to go and everything like that. But yeah, it was instantaneous. As soon as I sang that little bit of a solo, my friends, the audience, the parents, the teachers, everyone just went, and I go like, oh, okay. It was like yummy and terrifying at the same time. I didn't really know how to process that, especially because I was so young and so insecure and so riddled with just, anxiety and everything like that, that it was just like, I like this, but it's frightening. And I want to do more of this, but I'm not so sure. And it just really was kind of a head trip
It was an
for a while.
exhilaration, I'm sure, for
It
you.
was, it was. And then, of course, it was, a season at school. You go and you do your little show, several times. And we toured to other schools because it was always as a positive message to the show. So, you want to tour it around. So, the more I got used to it, the more comfortable I became with it. It was just sort of, okay. It was fun. It felt really good. It was nice to see that people were happy and that, made them feel good. And then it just kind of grew from there. As I say, our music teacher was incredible, very intuitive, very sensitive,
What's her
very
name again? Mrs. What?
Mrs. Dietrich. Miss Dietrich. She was fabulous.
Marlena Dietrich?
I know. No, she was great. And her father was a music teacher. And I later on did some, work with him. And, he had me come and dance at some of his, reviews and shows that he did and everything. But she was just great. She opened up the world to us. And I don't know how common this was because we were a very poor school. I mean, it was we were on just on the north side, just up on North Avenue. We were poor, the school had, but we had Paris come in that would teach like creative movement and interpretive dance. And I know. I mean, just this mind-blowing stuff that, kids in our tax bracket would normally never be exposed to. So third, fourth, and fifth grade, man, we were steeped in music and styles and movement and encouragement. And it was really great. It's
Wow.
amazing.
Do you remember the first that song that you did that was a solo, or does it go back that far to you? Because I remember the Name Game. My parents
Right.
told my relatives told me that story. I don't remember singing that. I know the song now
Of
because
course.
over the years I said, well, I gotta learn it now.
Yeah. Probably Rainbow Connection because we did the whole.
Oh, the Kermit song.
Yeah, the Kermit song. Yeah.
Oh, that's a
But
pretty
then
song.
later on in junior high and high school, I also went to an arts high school. I had a couple songs. One was The Rose,
Bette Midler.
And then the big one was Tomorrow.
Annie.
The song Come Out Tomorrow. Yeah, that was my so like every show, they trot me out and I would do those songs. So those were kind of my big songs.
Oh my, Annie's a little tough.
It was
for a young child,
Yeah.
like Andrea McArdle did it on Broadway for the first time when I heard it, and she got standing ovations for 10 minutes when she sang that. For a young child, that's a challenging song.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I did it well, but I did it.
No, I'm sure she did, folks. Don't listen to her. She's very modest. From what I know of you, you're very modest. So, that was your first public appearance. Do you remember your first professional appearance, like when you became a singer, quote unquote, and started performing,
Right.
professionally, I guess is the
Yeah.
term.
Not clearly because I would have blanked out. I mean, I really
You were nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I've had, lifelong just chronic anxiety, really deep anxiety.
Do you still have it when you go on stage?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Can I tell you something? Don't, because I've heard you sing. You could sing the phone book, and it would be amazing. I'm telling you, folks, please. I'm not blowing smoke here. You don't have to be nervous.
Yeah.
Believe me.
No, it's. Just,
I've heard people that I went to, like, jazz clubs, and people that could sing, and right, and me and my husband would look and go, okay. But you believe me, there's no worries.
Well, and I talk about it because it's when I was a child, and maybe you know this, we didn't talk about things. And
That's true. Yeah.
Trigger warning, I will not go into details, and I don't go into details because it's just a lot. When it comes up per individual I'm talking to, I share some of my story. But I was put into fight or flight when I was 4, too young to know what to do with that, because of a situation that, again, this isn't that kind of show, so we're going to get into that now, but, and then it was just kind of one thing. It was just after another. So it's okay to say it's been a rough ride, getting through it, got to talk myself off the cliff every once in a while. And when those things get triggered, which sometimes in our world now, there is really no real fight or flight. It's very rare.
Yeah.
but life can feel as though there are lions and tigers and bears chasing you all the time,
Yeah.
and because that trigger can get stuck in that mode and we don't know what to do with it. So I've learned how to process that. I've become someone who wants to advocate and help others learn how to do that as well, because there was no therapy back then. There was no one to say, "You doing okay? Look like you're having a rough time. Can I help you out there?
Yeah,
And you need
yeah.
to talk about anything?" There was none of that. You just had to live with it, schlep it around all your life. So,
yeah.
it wasn't until I was probably in my early 20s when there was finally an intervention to say, "Okay, let's unpack some of this for you and help you
Mhm.
process this."
But that first applause that you get after that first number,
Swash
does that
of
wash you?
just
Are you
absolutely.
totally in a different
Yes.
space at that
Yes.
point?
Yes,
Because I can
absolutely.
imagine that
It's
washes it
incredible.
clean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely very healing, especially because it's when you're younger like that, it's just so pure and innocent. You're just singing this really pretty song that your teacher gave you, and you've been practicing and working really hard, and to just get genuine, immediate feedback that, "Oh, this was good, this was really nice, and we feel happy, and you feel happy," and you get that endorphin rush, and it feels really good, and it's kind of
Mhm.
a release. And I know many times throughout my career, and I kind of thought, gosh, this isn't going well. This is really hard. I'm not sure, maybe I was just given music to be healing balm for myself. Maybe I'm not really supposed to have a career in it, and because that alone would be enough, because it really is.
Music is a medicine. It
Absolutely.
really, really, to me anyway, because like I said, well, you don't know my whole story, but in a very short nutshell, I was abused as a child. My stepfather was awful. Um, but my little record player in my room
Yeah.
was my refuge.
Yeah.
I would save my lunch money that I didn't spend, and I'd buy 45 records. Now, for the young people out there who don't know what that is, it's
They were
about
great.
yay big,
Yeah.
right? Had a
Yeah.
big hole in the middle, and you put it on the record player, and you could play the song as much as you want.
Uh-huh.
And
Elvis Presley, Love Me Tender.
was that your first 45?
I think so.
Stop.
Yeah.
Mine was an album, because my mother used to belong to Columbia House. Remember though,
Oh,
you
yes.
you
And
buy
you'd
one
order.
album and you get 5 free or
That was
something.
so exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
she got a Petula Clark album, I Know
Ooh,
a Place,
nice.
and
Nice.
it was a female artist who was singing rock and roll.
Right?
And and everything else she had was Montavani and all this
Yeah, yeah,
other,
yeah.
like, schmaltzy stuff.
Mhm.
But Petula was rocking,
Yeah.
you know. I know a place where the music. It was a lot of
Mhm.
drums and very musical and
Yeah.
very rhythmic. And yeah, got my start with Petula and moved right along into Helen in the 70s. And
Mhm.
those are my two favorites
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So speaking of Helen,
What?
speaking of Helen,
Didn't see that coming.
of course not. I just pulled that out of the thin air. Helen Reddy.
Yeah.
She was one of your musical influences growing up. Did you have any others before we talk about Helen? Because this is about the show. But did you have any other before? Because Helen came out in the 70s.
Right.
Were there any people prior to Helen that you
I
listened to?
I don't
Remember?
think so. I had the childhood, like Burl Ives did some. I don't even remember now. I just remember Burl Ives' voice. There was some album with Burl Ives. I had
Holly
this.
Jolly Christmas is the one that comes to my
No,
mind.
he did some kind of story song album, something.
Oh,
It was really
really?
great. It was
Okay,
very
okay.
comforting. He has a beautiful voice
Oh,
and
yeah, I
everything,
loved his voice.
And then I had this. So yeah, before that, no, I mean, it was early. It was very, very early. We'd done a lot of moving around. We were in the midst of, dad's clearly not hanging out, and moving around, and was very young and would moved, I think 5 when we'd moved to Michigan. So there's a lot of tumult, a lot of stuff going on. She's trying to figure out how to get a job. She's got a college education, which, what's she going to do? So it was pretty much Helen Reddy from the beginning.
Really?
Yeah.
Like me?
Yeah.
Well, see, I think I'm a little older than you. We won't go there, though.
No, we don't
But
go there.
we won't.
Bad for business.
Bad for business. Well, my audience thinks I'm 32, but no, I don't talk about it. But like I said, the first female artist that I was able to listen to and have the record was
Mhm.
Petula Clark.
Yeah.
But they kind of are in the same mold,
Mhm.
Helen and Petula. They're, downtown, and then you have Delta Dawn, and you have Leave Me Alone and Helen Reddy's side that were very rhythmic and powerful songs as well,
Yeah.
pop songs.
Mhm.
So Before I ask the next question,
Mhm.
I want to read a quote from the president of the Helen Reddy official fan club. His name is Jim Keaton,
Mhm.
and we both know him.
Yeah.
I've known him for years.
Oh,
So
have you?
this,
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
oh goodness,
Okay. Oh,
I've
that's
been a Helen
wonderful.
Reddy fan since I was 2. No, she
Okay.
wasn't out when I was 2. Actually, the first time I heard her sing, I was 11
Okay.
because I Don't Know How to Love Him was her first single.
Oh, right.
It blew me away when I heard her voice.
Yeah.
I mean, because that song, I don't know if a lot of people are into technical music, but when you hear it, it goes from a low note, and then in one next breath, she's up there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to love him. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and then there's parts that are go to the stratosphere. So
Yeah.
I was just, and then after I heard the song, I had to run out and buy that
Of
record, and
course.
then the next thing you know, it was an addiction.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. Well, and I could spend a whole hour just talking about her technique, her vocal technique.
yeah,
She
please,
gets
I would.
so kind of poo-pooed, like, oh, she's just saying crap. Like, no, 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 no. Let me break it down for you. That's some tough
So
stuff.
this is what Jim Keaton said. This is a quote from Jim Keaton. He said, Erin Livingston herself, an ardent Helen Reddy fan, did not try to impersonate Helen. Rather, Erin paid homage to Helen through her outstanding vocal abilities and the stories of how the superstar influenced her own life. That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It took my breath away when I read that the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time.
yeah. That's an amazing compliment. He doesn't do that very often,
Yeah. Well, and he would know.
but
Obviously, he would have some,
he didn't even do
litmus
that
test for.
with the I Am Woman movie, the artist who was in it, but she
Oh,
had just basically just was an actor in the movie. She didn't sing her own stuff. But with you, that was a very
that's
high
huge.
compliment.
That's yeah.
Huge,
Yep.
very huge.
Yep.
So you and I are both huge Helen Reddy fans. As you know, Helen Reddy passed away in
Hmm.
September of 2020. I
It's
cried for
crushing.
like a week.
It's crushing.
It was crushing for me, and I'm sure it was crushing for you.
Absolutely.
She did so much for not only for women with that song. I mean, it empowered women, but it empowered gay people like me.
Absolutely.
I mean, Jim will tell you the same story.
Absolutely.
We heard that song and we were like, "Hey,
Uh-huh.
women are strong. We are strong and
Yeah.
we're invincible and
Yeah.
we can do anything."
Yeah.
The song is just over the top to me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, how did it come about that you decided to pay tribute to the late singer and perform selections of her songbook in concert? So, what precipitated that?
Well, I've always been obviously in love with her, and the song "I Am Woman" really was a seed that needed to be germinated over time. Because I remember, as much as we were obviously pro Helen Reddy and singing her songs, and we had the original "I Am Woman" album in the home and everything like that, I remember distinctly um, first, second, third grade, my mother had such a hard time getting a job, keeping a job. It was just brutal.
And supporting a family.
Yeah, and it,
Mhm.
it was just horrible. And even at my very young age, I could see very clearly this is a man's world. And when women are involved, it's a sexualized man's world. It's very uncomfortable. I don't feel safe. I don't feel good in my skin. Clearly, things are, this is tough. And I
Yeah.
remember not, and this is a term that gets used in a different way nowadays. So but I did not feel comfortable with my gender identity at all. I did not feel comfortable being a girl because to me, girl, woman, female meant victim. It meant you were a victim waiting to
Wow.
happen. So it was really tough for me. I
Mhm.
never watched sports, but I had basketball sheets. I never had pink frilly. I didn't want to be associated with anything feminine
So
because
you were a
that meant.
tomboy when you grew up.
Well, actually, I wasn't a tomboy, but I didn't like. This is a very scary thing to identify with because that means you're just a victim waiting to happen because it's a tough world out there.
Yeah.
You know. So you know she was integral to my youth. Grew up, life happens, and and get through the the marriage was an interesting parallel to the song, which my kids are a little bit older, and I kind of said, well, I can carry a tune with minimal assistance. Maybe I'll try to connect with a musician and see if I can get some work, and I'm gonna do something, and I did, and it was great, and all that, and I was trying to freshen up I've told this story before, but kind of freshen up my set list. It's been a couple of years, and I was going through my iTunes, which at this point is, like 8,000 songs or something. And I remember,
Oh yeah.
scrolling something new out here. I remember seeing the I Am Woman song. And of course, my heart went, oh, yeah, that, but I thought, ugh, I don't think I can sing that out. I just didn't think people would receive it. I thought people would think it was be hokey or dated or whatever. I think it still just subliminally didn't feel like we had a whole lot of support necessarily, and so I kind of kept scrolling past it and looking for other songs, but it just stayed on my mind. And so I went back and I listened to it again, and I lost track. It had been a while since I listened to the song.
Me too. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. And by this time, I was divorced. It was a rough ride for 17 years, and a lot of things happened. And when I listened to that song again, I sat there and was absolutely blown away that I could see the timeline of my life and how it paralleled not just the songs that I grew up with of Helen Reddy's, but I Am Woman became, while it was a national song, an international song, 'cause for a movement, it was for all of us, it was very specifically my song now. And that feels terribly selfish to say, because it's such a huge anthem that for all of us, but really in that moment, the circle happened, and it was very therapeutic. I released a lot of stuff in that moment, but I also kind of re-owned that song. Like, yeah, this is where I'm at now.
Yeah. She's looking down on you, and she's very proud of you. I think, because I believe
honestly,
in spirituality, and
I do too, and I really feel that.
I think she's living in you, and because she's not here to sing that anymore, and
but she is here.
Yeah, well, yes,
she is here.
But you're singing it, and people are hearing it again, because that message in that song is so powerful, and
it's incredible.
And a lot of people, even I know women to this day, they say when they hear it, they get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Because they remember the power that song had at the time.
And from that, my original inspiration was to do a show on Helen Reddy, but to do sort of a theatrical version, which I've yet to do, but really in kind of unpacking like sort of one woman's journey with Helen Reddy and her music, because honestly, really 10 to 8 specific story in my life where that belongs, peaceful, specific story that belongs in my life. Remember that part of my life. But from that moment on, I was determined to try to do a Helen show. And I was telling you earlier, I'd mention it to people, like, hey, I've got this great idea. And they'd all go, she's so obscure, Helen. No, it'll come out for a Helen show. That's too bad. Think of something else, honey. And, I just
now it's selling out.
Okay. But they say, do what you love, but I love Helen Reddy, but you're telling me I'm just a Helen nerd or something, so that kind of put it on the back burner for a while, thinking I obviously don't know what I'm talking about, I guess.
I'm going to tell you something, and I really, truly believe this. She is probably, in my estimation, the most underrated female vocalist of all time, because if you ask younger people today who's Helen, they don't know who she is.
No clue.
But everybody else they know. They know, Carole King. I'm not saying that I don't like Carole. I love them
absolutely.
all. But I'm saying, why would you eliminate one of the biggest singers, not bring her into the modern day, and keep her legacy alive, especially with a song like that?
Oh, well, and a song like that, it's anthemic. It has a real place in our history as a people, but also just musically, why she's not up there, because I can tell you from having
Beyond
to sing, it's one thing to sing her stuff in the shower or the car and whatever, but to sing her stuff with integrity in front of people, you realize you got to pull out all the stops. She did not shy away from anything. Intervals, range, nuance. She brought everything, everything technically. And I actually, I teach voice at McPhail, and very often you'll hear me quoting to my students, watch this video from Helen Reddy. You watch her abdomen. It's an absolute master class.
Yeah, did you see
control.
that video when they showed like how she her breathing technique?
Yes.
Oh, it's crazy.
And the thing that is so magical, and don't get me, I could talk forever about technique, but she's exercising her instrument, and yet the rest of her completely relaxed. No extra energy.
Oh my God, you're giving me the chills.
At
Absolutely.
all. Her throat, her face, her neck, everything is just right here.
She's at home on this stage. Yeah.
She's centered her physical energy, her mental energy. It's all channeled into the music.
And I want to tell the audience something. We're talking about I Am Woman, but that's just the tip of the
Oh,
iceberg. I mean, I'll tell you that "You and Me Against the World" was the
yeah.
song my mother dedicated to me.
Same here. That was our song.
That was you listen to that song, and if you lost your mother or parent, um, and you listen to the words of that song and the way she sings it
Yeah.
with such feeling,
Ugh.
if you don't have a box of tissues next to you, I'm going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it's funny, generationally, it was your and your mother's song. It was my and mother's song. And as I went through my marriage, which as I said was, it was abusive, it was rough, it was challenging. It was my song to my children because
mm,
we were alone. We were completely isolated,
mhm.
not only having a special needs child, very isolating, people don't come around, having a scary abusive husband, people, I
Yeah.
had a wonderful mentor mom who was, very, very dear to me. And she stopped calling, she stopped coming around because I just didn't want to do or say anything that would make it worse for you when I left. So the safest thing she could do would be to leave.
Mm.
So that means it's literally just you and me
Me against
again.
the
So that's
world.
it.
Yeah.
you
And
know.
then I went full circle when um, I got married in 2015 with my husband, and we can't. My husband and I, we just can't listen to "You're My World"
Yeah.
without crying
Yeah.
because the words of that song, it was the wedding song of the decade,
Right.
along with "We've Only Just Begun" by
Yeah.
the Carpenters.
Hmm.
But when you listen to the words of that, the love that she expresses in
Yeah.
that song and the notes,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, she's in the stratosphere. I don't,
Hmm.
I mean, I'm getting the chills just
Yeah.
listening to it in my
Yeah.
head.
She was a master practitioner. She
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful song.
Mhm.
But again, there's so many. I mean, then there
There
were
are
the
so many.
hits, and then there were album cuts. The song she did in Pete's Dragon,
Right. Yeah. Well, there were songs
Candle
that
on the
should have
Water.
been hits. I mean, don't get me started on Leon Russell's Bluebird. That was
Oh,
and how it was arranged, it was played. I mean, that would to me, that's amazing.
yeah. At the end, when she sings it live, at the end, she goes on and on and on with that note.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's incredible. There's so much music. Matter of fact, I was excited when I finally, the universe kind of gave me the green light to do the Helen Reddy show. And I was like, okay, let's go, let's do this. And I started writing and plotting and planning and arcing and choosing the songs. And I, at one point, just stood back and started to kind of like, get shaky and think, oh my gosh, I can't do this. That there's too much history from her. There are too many stories, there are too many songs, too many hits. I can't do her justice in one show. And I called Jim Keaton in tears and said, I
The
can't do
president, by
this.
the way.
Yeah, the president. Yeah. I said, what if I do it wrong? I could hurt your feelings and make you mad. Like, because it's just too much. It's too hard. There's too much there.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't do her songbook in one show. It's
no,
impossible.
no, it was ridiculous. And
Yeah.
even some of my favorites didn't make the cut for this show. Um, which speaks to my integrity as a producer. But good news. I'm writing a second show because I can't leave you, and have you not know all this other music that she did. So I'm writing a second show with more of her music and more stories about her because it needs to be told. You mentioned young people don't know her. I've been shocked at how many women, 40s, 50s, 60s, think, oh, she sang that one song.
No.
They're also kind of disconnected from her historically, her story, and musically.
Hmm.
Even if you don't know Helen Reddy, you're going to love the show. Her music was amazing. And I'm doing homage to the original arrangements that she did because they were flawless.
Mm.
Mark Ash, my piano player, described them as sublime. So they're being charted note for note, her original arrangements, because they really were outstanding.
What are some of your other than "I Am Woman"? Obviously,
Yeah.
what are some Helen Reddy songs that give you a chill when you hear it, or move you
Yeah.
to the point when you sing them? Sometimes you
It's
feel a
tough.
tear coming down.
It's tough. Yeah, it was tough doing such a personal show, so many personal songs. And I couldn't get too personal during the show. Obviously, it's a show. It's a different kind of show, but peaceful. For me,
Oh,
that
what a
yeah,
song, man!
yeah, it's just huge, and it reminds
It
me.
only
And
went to number 12 on the Billboard charts, which shocks me because
yeah,
it should have been at
yeah,
least
it's
top
an
10 or
amazing
number one.
story. It's an amazing vibe and energy that it has. But it reminds me distinctly of a period in my life, that little bubble of innocence before kind of realize what the world, is really like out there. And,
Oh yeah.
we were, I would say, hippie kid. And, I talk about this in the show. It reminds me of, the old drippy windows. And we had this, old, like Victorian duplex that we lived in, and the bottles of LaSalle wine, with the color droopy candles and dandelion wine brewing in the kitchen. And, it was just that beautiful, warm, wonderful feeling. 10 to 8, that's my Stella Getting Her Groove Back song.
That's David
my
Castle,
thing.
wasn't it?
Yeah. Bluebird, was just, I love the rhythm and the feel of that birthday song, the opening of birthday song, just that do bop, bop, that jazzy feeling
Love the
was,
way love
yeah,
me.
it was really kind of a new,
Yeah.
I think a lot of us do, but I mean, I really experience music very viscerally in my body.
Mhm.
So that the space that was there musically, it wasn't jammed full of horn and everything. It was just that a light groove that just was so delicious and yummy. And it sets up the song so beautifully, and it stays
Mhm.
kind of, light. And the way that some of her songs move, the way they were arranged is really incredible. I could go on and on and on and on and on.
I wish we
many
had a
songs.
2-hour show here.
Yeah.
It would be amazing. My I'm going to throw some out of my favorites. You don't have to tell me if you're going to do them, because I want to be surprised. Because there's one song she did called "I Can't Say Goodbye to You."
Killer.
Killer. Get the box of tissues, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're doing it. Don't tell the audience, because they'll find out. Another one is Emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I think she has the best version of that song I've ever heard, because originally it was a French song, I believe, and her version of "You Don't Have to Say You Love Me."
Yeah.
On one of her later albums, it was when she was with MCA Records. She left Capitol. They had a dispute, and then she went to MCA for 2 albums. She was having problems with her husband at the time, and there's a lot of drama. But that album was great, and that song, and it's a Dusty Springfield song, but she put octane in that.
Absolutely, she did. Yeah. Absolutely.
It was high.
Incredible. Loved it.
You heard that one?
Absolutely.
I'm trying. Oh, of course, I Don't Know How to Love Him was the first song that grabbed me by the neck. And I was like, oh my God, who's singing this? I want this record. Her version of Crazy Love.
Yeah.
By Van
really
Morrison.
Sweet. Love it.
Beautiful song.
Yeah. And that's the version that I grew up with first.
Yeah, but it was a single, and it was a hit for her. Top 10 on the adult contemporary charts. It's her first top 10, I believe. Went to number 8. I know all about her, so you can go on. I can give you the numbers, where she charted and all this stuff. But even Van Morrison, he didn't release it as a single, and then she saw that was a beautiful song. It should have been released as a single, and she did it, and it was great. I could go on. I love her version of Delta Dawn.
Yes.
Because everybody always says, "Oh, it's Tanya Tucker's song." No. Tanya did the country version as a young girl. I think she was 12. And Helen did it as an adult woman. It was written in the key for Barbara Streisand. I don't know if you know this story.
I did not know this.
Barbara refused to do it. She didn't like the song.
Okay.
And the only one, this is what the producer said, his name was Tom Catalano, the only credible person, this is amazing, this story, that he thought would be able to do it justice was Helen Reddy, because it was in Barbara's key.
Oh, right. Yeah, she's a rangy girl.
And she had a key change at the end.
Yeah.
And at the end of her career, she always said, I do it in my show, but it's challenging because now I'm older, and women's voices change when they get older. She was still in the same register at the end of her career.
Unbelievable. I saw her on the Marie Osmond show, and I couldn't.
Yes.
I was prepared. I mean, obviously loved her, worshipped her, but I was prepared when she was going to sing. I kind of went, okay, it'll be fine, because she was quite mature at that time.
She was about 77, 76. I'm not sure.
I was distractedly moved by her delivery. It was spot on. But also I couldn't help, the technician in me couldn't help but go, oh my gosh. I mean, she was still flawless in her technique. It was absolutely drop dead fabulous.
With only the accompaniment of a pianist.
Yep, that's it.
Very light piano.
Full delivery. The audience wrecked.
Did you see the
I was
audience?
wrecked.
Did you see the audience?
We were all.
They were panning the audience. They were in tears. The girls
Yeah.
were crying in the audience.
Yeah. I was the same. I just sat there going, I just couldn't breathe. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I know you're not going to give the audience the set list. It's a surprise. So if you go, you'll hear all.
Trust me, you'll be happy. I was really very, very nervous because a lot of the fan club members from around the country flew in for the show. No pressure, easy peasy.
The president
I thought,
even flew in.
I thought, holy cow! And because we'd already determined you cannot do all of her hits in one show. I knew I was going to be disappointing people, and I was ready for people to come and go, "Why didn't you do this?" And why, everyone was thrilled, everyone was happy, and just know that I'm writing another show. We'll get them all in eventually. But yes, you will hear Delta Dawn. You will hear Angie Baby. You will hear, I don't want to say too much, but you'll hear a lot of other great songs.
Yeah,
It's a really good
biggie.
show.
Yeah. Number one Billboard single. Yeah.
It was fun. Our first rehearsal, I've said these great musicians. They've toured the world. They played with everyone, and a lot of them were like, "Oh, Helen's show. Okay, yeah, she did that one song, right? Again, you see that one song. They were loosely familiar." So of course I sent them the music and set list to listen to and everything. And our first rehearsals were setting up. I could hear in the behind my back going, "Man, these songs, these are amazing. Those arrangements. Who did this? Who are the cats on this album? Wow, this is great stuff. I had no idea she was so hip. Man, she was hip. Yeah, and what chords, pipes." I mean, all of them were just like blown away by what they did not know about Helen Reddy and that she rocked it.
Yeah. Well, she was in a day when women singers weren't. I mean, of course, there was Janis Joplin and there was Tina Turner, people like that. But as a white artist, there weren't that many that were blowing it out like she was and doing rock and roll and doing it credibly.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have 8 minutes left here.
Okay.
So now we've come to the part of the show I like to call the shift, where I shift the questioning away from your personal journey and to your opinions on current events. It's like a lightning round, but don't forget to say the F and shift, because otherwise the sponsors have a conniption. So you have to say shift.
Shift. Okay.
Some people say shifita. So, so as you may be aware by now, I'm going to read this so I get it right. Hunter Biden made a surprise appearance at a House Oversight Committee hearing intended to conduct a vote to hold him in contempt for defying a subpoena. Meanwhile, by his showing up, he demonstrated that he was willing to publicly testify before Congress, even though the Republicans say he's not being cooperative. That was a brilliant move on his part. And the reason that this dog and pony show is even happening is by the direction of the twice impeached, 91 times indicted ex-president, because he directs. It's almost like a movie. He directs them. It tells them, "All right, you stand here, you do this." So what are your thoughts about that? It was an amazing show of courage by
Absolutely.
Hunter Biden. Yeah,
absolutely. I'll tell you what my stance is, because I've been saying this for so long now. I remember when I was in high school, people, the upperclassmen, talking about politics and government and everything. And I thought, why do I not know what they're talking about? It's because as my grade came up, they stopped teaching civics class. They don't teach civics class anymore. So regardless of your opinion, regardless of where you stand on the right or left or whatever, if you don't understand the basic functioning of our government, it doesn't work that way. You can't just say, "Well, just don't certify the election." It doesn't work that way. You're going to base an insurrection on that. It doesn't work that way.
That's not how it goes. Folks.
That's not how we're doing this. So I think that fundamentally, other than the terrifying, that's actually your core belief. I was talking with someone the other day, when you're meeting new people, I have to kind of double check, like the earth. Round, right? We're both on the same page. Let's just at least establish that first.
Otherwise, you'd fall off the edge.
Right. So, but I mean, I think honestly, really, I think establishing, it used to be just a given. You had civics class. You had to know how the government works, because we're sending you out there to vote and be part of the government. People really don't get it. They think it makes me feel mad, therefore we're not going to do that. No, you cast your vote, or you run for office yourself. You play by the rules. It'll get you. You work within the system. You can't just say, "I don't like it, so we're just going to ignore you, or not take the vote, or not listen to your legislative speaker," whatever. I think a lot of it comes down to, because frankly, I'm terrified. It is absolutely terrifying, the climate right now, that you can't have. I would love to have an intelligent conversation with someone that has a different view.
Yeah. It's not going to happen. But you know what? I'm going to be uplifting today.
Yes.
because I was told that I think it's Patrick. It's the 27th of would be the date that the show is going to be on the radio. Is that right? Yeah, he's nodding. Um, so January the 27th, which is a Saturday, is going to be the premiere of the Downright Upright show on the radio.
That's amazing.
It's going to be in a block with all LGBT shows.
Fantastic. How exciting.
I'm so excited about it.
Congratulations.
And
That's
thank you
amazing.
so much. And I'm so honored that I got this opportunity, because I think like I said, our views are not getting out there.
Yeah.
And we are people just like everybody else. All we
Absolutely.
want to be is just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And our views and our issues are important to talk about.
Absolutely. Huge.
And since I am a member of the LGBTQ community myself, I always feel I must address our issues.
Mhm.
So the Minnesota Timberwolves, this is interesting, celebrated the LGBTQ community on their annual Pride Night this past Friday. The event was presented by Jack Daniels. So thank you, Jack Daniels.
Woo-hoo!
I love Jack Daniels. The game versus the Portland Trailblazers featured festive in-game entertainment and special recognition of local organizations that are dedicated to uplifting this and supporting the LGBT community. And to end the night on a high note, the Wolves routed the Trailblazers by a score of 116 to 93.
Oh, fantastic.
So, of course, the homophobes and transphobes try to put a damper on the event by posting attacks on the community on their Facebook page and other social media. But the wet blankets didn't affect the positivity of the night.
Yeah, that
didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put a damper on it, but it didn't work out. People were there and celebrating and having a great time. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I'm kind of shocked. I'm sort of taken aback.
Me
you know, yeah, and I think it's particularly hard. I mean, I've always grown up in the arts community. I grew up as a hippie kid. We just, it's all good.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
think it's because it's basketball and it tends to be a heterosexual,
more testosterone
space.
kind of a thing. Heteronormative
Having
activity.
gay people talked about is probably against their beliefs.
Well, I think it's hard for a lot of people who maybe haven't been exposed. Like I said, I just grew up with it. It's no big deal. Who kind of have this caricature idea of the LGBTQ community, who they are, what they're about, what their agenda is.
Agenda. I love that word.
Yeah. Well, because clearly y'all have an agenda, and it's terrifying.
Yeah. So before we end the show, because we have 2 minutes now, I just want to say happy. This show will not be. Today is MLK, Martin Luther King's Day. I want to thank everyone in the African American community for supporting all of us in every community, and Martin Luther King's message of judge people by the content of the character and not the color of their skin, which is a beautiful message. Yeah. And also today are the Iowa caucuses in Iowa, so we don't know anything what's going to happen about that, but you'll see by the end of the night. But this show will be on Thursday, so you'll know by that point what's going on. Yeah. So unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. Okay. Is there anything you want to say before we close the show really quick?
It's wonderful being here with you. Thank you for inviting me. I sure appreciate you. You're just a doll. You're adorable. I want to take you home with me. I brought something for you. People are always asking. I make my own skincare line. So I brought a couple things for you. This is my Rose Hydrosol Face and Body Spray.
Oh, wow.
I'll show you how to use that later. And I brought you a little pillow spray. And then here's a little crystal and herb infused oil. Very high energy, very lovely stuff. But yeah, so just enjoy those. They're wonderful. They're lovely. I want you to feel all yummy. And I think you need to have a spa day every day.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. And
thank you for having me.
You bet. And I don't want to give the audience one final information about your show. For more information about Erin Livingston, simply go to erinlivingstonsinger.com to look for upcoming scheduled concerts and also to purchase tickets to Erin's I Am Woman, the Music of Helen Reddy. Yeah. Oh, I cannot wait. There's a link on the website to purchase tickets. Yeah. I already have mine. Get yours. And thank you for spending time with us today. And to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us today. And please look out for more of the Downright Upright Show in the future. AM950radio.com/events/Philip with one L. And thank you for supporting us with your clicks, your subs. And Erin and I are going to kiss you goodbye. We love you.
Love
And
you.
go see Helen Reddy tribute show, but with Ellen, yeah, right, with Erin Livingston. Love you.
Mwah. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.